there are some legal requirements for job descriptions that you need to get from an HR professional. There are things like you have to say we don't discriminate. We have been trained in bloodborne pathogens and in discrimination. You need to be able to pick up 75 pounds. There are some boilerplate language like that goes into a job description. But the meat of the job description is the functions that you just wrote under that position on your org chart. And you bullet point them on the job. These are the things you'll be responsible for. And the clarity of that is a lot of people complain about the work effort that they get out of people. And I always say, well, before we take the mote out of somebody else's eye, let's take the log out of our own. Did you ever tell them what you wanted them to do? Did you ever tell them how they would be measured? Did you ever tell them what the expectations are of how well to do something? So you're starting with that in the job description by listing out the steps that function, that position is going to have to do.
Yeah.
We're not at the point of explaining how to do it. We're just telling them these are the things that you need to do. And let me preempt something that I hear every time I talk about job descriptions. People say, well, I don't want job descriptions because people are going to come to me and say, that's not my job. Well, you can get around that with a sentence that is approved and it says, and other duties as required when requested. But you must tell them what you standard expect them to do. Yeah. Otherwise, how are they supposed to know?
Yeah.
Read your mind, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's even, as you write the description, it really needs to be clear, and this goes even to your hiring process, but especially just on a regular review process that you do with an employee. When you have this job description, it needs to be very clear how this job affects the overall vision and mission of the company and how it ties directly into that. I think that's one thing that sometimes is really unclear for certain positions in your company because they're so focused on a specific function of the business or a specific area or department. They don't really get to see the bigger picture because, maybe they're not on jobs day to day. They're working in the office, or maybe they never see numbers and they're just, using a hammer every day. And if you can really tie it into that overall vision and mission at the job level, you'll have better buy-in of the overall company vision. And then as you write your job description, try to include your values and intertwine them into the language of how everything's listed and make it clear that this is how this job should be, worked every single day to fit our company values. That will get you much better buy-in overall. Then as you do company or employee evaluations, quarterly reviews, annual reviews, whatever you decide to do as a company, there needs to be some sort of rating or at least conversation about each thing that's on the job description and that you can evaluate them on very clearly. And in fact, once you have your job descriptions, those job descriptions directly create your employee evaluations that you do. And that just makes it a lot easier for you to be able to measure, track, and improve and grow as a company, but also at the employee level individually for each job.
Right. And you did bring up a good point. The job description, the job has a name, the position has a name, like project manager. But below that ought to be a purpose.
Absolutely.
And I don't mean my purpose is to make it easy for the people downstream of me to do their jobs.
Yeah.
Right. Or, my role is to, I have complete responsibility for the budget and the timing of the projects I'm on. And what do you really want out of that person? And it should be simply stated, but that they do understand that there's a purpose, all these specific things we're going to do in the bullet points in the job, but there is a purpose for them. And that, there's nothing more important than a great project manager to a contractor. You win the job, you're out looking for other things, and you hand it off to somebody, and it gets done on time, on budget, with delighted customers. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
That's not a unicorn, but that's a really great outcome. So
yeah, that's one
you can put that.
That's one you want to keep around. I think if you just if you look at a job description and you think about the life cycle of that job description, it's not really looked, I don't know that many employees that go back and look at their job description on a monthly basis, maybe even at all, right? Probably good companies do review those things at, their evaluations and those kinds of things as just a refresher. But typically people are looking at a job description, probably if there's a performance evaluation where they might be getting fired, like, hey, you're not doing this. But typically it's on the hiring and then on the promotion side. That's when this document gets pulled up and referenced and reviewed and looked at to be able to have a conversation during the application process, hiring process, interview process, whatever it is. So what I hear from a lot of business owners with job descriptions is they have a vague idea and say, we're going to, as this person gets added to the team, we're going to write that job description and add to it and stuff like that. But the reality is it doesn't happen because that job description really needs to be in place before the hiring goes into play. And it really, it's really getting reviewed the most when it's on the job board. That's whenever the people that you're looking to hire, all the applicants, are really, really looking at it. And it should be different. You should be looking at your job description more regularly and adding to it or removing and revising it. But that's the reality of it. It's before someone's hired and maybe the week that they're hired and being onboarded that you're going through those things. And so you really have to make some time before you decide to hire for a position about what this role really is going to do. But you also have to use it as an opportunity to vet people, not just on skills, but on values. And a really great exercise that I like to do is take the standard task that you put on, or responsibility that you put on a job description that is very clear and very formal sounding, and then dress it up a little bit and make it into like an actual action that you can really feel, so that when you read it, you can really diagnose whether that's me or not. And it really gives it a little bit more character.